I gotta do something about this background. This is so unattractive. Hey guys! So today I thought I would do my very first movie review on my main channel. In no way, shape, or form am I some kind of renowned movie critic or anything, but I did recently watch a movie that was so good that I had to review it. It was like so good that it prompted me to do a video with new content for my channel. Like, I've never done anything like this, but I think it really deserved one from me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Let's not ramble. Okay, so the movie review that I'm going to be doing is for Dismissed. Dismissed is a 2017 thriller film, and a good one at that, okay? It stars Kent Osborne, who I just recently learned was a writer, or he probably still is, but he is a writer for the SpongeBob show, which I love. Well, I loved seasons 1 through 4, but he was a writer during that time, so thank you, Kent. It also stars child actor Dylan Sprouse. You may know him from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Let me tell you something. He has come a long way from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. If you haven't seen the movie, get it? Oh no. If you haven't yet seen the movie, then don't watch this video because I am going to get all up in it. So I don't want any of you coming at, Elle, you ruined the movie, you ruined the surprise. Then watch the movie. Pause this, go watch the movie, come back to this later. We just go ahead and dive right in. Let's start with opening credits. They are so long, and I just feel like they're a tad bit unnecessary. Now, the scenes that they do show in the credits, they do tie together in the end, but when you're first watching it, like, you don't really know what you're watching. It's set to this like creepy, terrible music. It's way too long. The opening credits didn't really do anything, really nothing good, and I can't tell you why, but I hate movies that show the title after they showed us like the costume director. Really? We're then introduced to mild-mannered English teacher Mr. David Butler, played by Kent Osborne, who is in the process of applying for a professorship. Enter transfer student Lucas Ward, aka Dylan Sprouse, who already sets himself up to be the teacher's pet. He also gives him this like gigantic packet of all the missed assignments that he's, missed since transferring from schools. Like, you are such a teacher's pet, like, calm down. Now, the lesson for the day is based on the Shakespeare play Othello. So Mr. Butler is trying to teach his classmates about the internal and external conflicts between Othello and Iago. Lucas then goes to try out for the chess team, which is ran by who, might you ask? That's right, you guessed it, Mr. Butler, of course. While trying out for the chess team, Lucas explains to Mr. Butler that he has his heart set on going to Hartford. His father is a criminal defense attorney, and his mother died a long time ago due to an unexplained reason. Lucas defeats David in the match and is welcomed to the team with open arms, of course. Now, in between the more interesting scenes, we do show a family bond between Mr. David, his wife Rachel, and their baby boy that they've had within the past year. So Lucas and fellow classmate Alex are duking it out to see which one of them is the best of the best, the creme de la creme in chess. And although it looks like Alex is going to defeat Lucas, he actually defeats Alex and is obviously the best chess player of the team. But since Alex has seniority over Lucas, he is casted as first seed for an upcoming chess tournament in a rival high school. And then Lucas is, of course, like upset over this. This is not music to his ears. So he plays it cool. But then we do show him retaliating to Alex for what? Being in the chess team longer than you? Really, bro? So this scene is in science class, and the teacher was actually pretty funny. Like, I would have loved to have a teacher like that. Like, he was literally trying to appeal to his students with comedy, but they just weren't having it. But anyway, they are dealing with chemicals, and they were dealing with highly reactive ones. So they were looking through a couple of slides, and while Alex was looking through one of the slides, Lucas puts a chemical via like one of those plastic syringe bottles. I forget what they're called, but he actually drops a chemical into the slide, and it's reactive to what they're looking at in the slide, and it explodes in Alex's eye. Oh my gosh, like, that's so uncomfortable to watch. Luckily, it's not too gory or anything like that, but just like, ugh, you can feel it through the screen. I'm assuming he's blind. Like, I don't think you can bounce back from that, dude. Like, something literally exploded in your eye. So then the science teacher gets fired, and David is explaining this to his wife, and she says, well, to be fair, he deserves it. Like, why does he deserve to get fired? Like, it wasn't his fault that Lucas is a psychopath. Mr. Butler then confronts Lucas on the matter, to which Lucas stupidly replies, you know, like, at least I can now bring my team to victory. Like, what? No, like, he didn't play it smart at all. Like Mr. Butler asked him how he was about the situation, like, are you okay? He goes like, I'll get over it, but now I can bring my team to victory. Like, you're literally suspect, dude. Like, that's suspect. Like, red flag all around. Like, you're not smart. So going back to the Shakespeare play Othello, there is a book report due on the lesson, and everyone submits their book reports. They're standard, what, like 3 to 5 page double-spaced book reports that, I mean, that's what my high school was. It's always like 3 to 5 page double-spaced, you know. But Lucas submits something that looks like the friggin' rough draft of a novel. It's thick, it's, you know, it has like a cover and a back, and it's typed up from a typewriter. Like, whose man's is this? In his report, Lucas attempts to defend the antagonist of the play, Iago, by referencing that although Iago is an evil little liar, that he is always true to himself, which makes him a hero. What? The class eventually gets their book reports back, and Mr. Butler gives Lucas a B+. Dun, dun, dun. Lucas demands that David gives him the 0.7 difference between an A and a B+, but David stays true to himself and say, listen, this is the highest grade I can give you. Your whole thesis is basically not feasible, you know? So, like, just take the B+, keep it moving. Build a bridge and get over it, is basically what he was trying to tell Lucas. And, of course, Lucas is not going to build a bridge and get over it, is he? The next few days, he does some pretty petty stuff. Like, first we see him stalk Mr. Butler. Like, that's so creepy, dude. Like, why are you sitting in your car watching where he lives? Like, go home. Like, go play Call of Duty. He gives Mr. Butler a flat tire. Then he dries out all of Mr. Butler's, like, whiteboard markers. He then, like, steals or hides his lunch or whatever, so then he had to, like, buy Sloppy Joe from the cafeteria. But then he climbs the immaturity ladder by actually intercepting Mr. Butler's professorship application and completely rewriting the application in, you know, Lucas's own immature words. Well, not really immature. He actually used some, like, SAT words that Mr. Butler wouldn't have used. Unfortunately, David's application gets rejected because of this ruse that the school thought he was playing. So David puts 2 and 2 together by comparing Lucas's rewritten professorship essay to his Iago book report. But wait a minute, didn't Mr. Butler give Lucas his book report back a couple of days ago? Like, didn't he give everyone else their book report back? So how is it that in a couple of scenes later we see David turn around and there it is, like, Lucas's book report? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't think he would have made an exact copy of it for his, like, records or whatever. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Hashtag plot hole. But, you know, of course, the plot just had to call for a problem-solving deus ex machina, right? Mr. Butler confronts Lucas about everything that's been happening, you know. He's literally just asks him, like, are you messing with me? And then Lucas disregards it by, you know, referencing a book, okay? His classic move. David's attempt to shed light on Lucas's behavior falls on deaf ears. That of the principal, who basically just shrugs David off. You know, she's like, are you okay? Like, you've been off a couple of days. Yeah, it's Lucas's fault. Like, pay attention. She basically tells David that he can't go around, like, accusing students of threats when he has no proof, but then gives him permission to visit Lucas's father at his house. What? So anyway, David goes to Lucas's house to visit his father, who is now temporarily working from home, I guess, and he walks right into the house and says, you know what? Your son's been threatening me. And his deliverance is so weak and so basic and unsupported. Like, it was so, like, the writing in that sentence was just so bad. Like, it was just, I'm sorry to say this, but your son's threatening me. You want to follow up on that, maybe? The dad's just like, okay, like, what did he say? What did he do? And he's just like, well, he was referencing a novel, or like, he quoted a novel. Like, say something else, like, support yourself, like, build up the case. You can't just say your son's threatened me and then, like, literally give no proof. Like, you have no proof. And if you don't have any proof, like, you know, make yourself sound more plausible. Like, that was just so weak. It was so, like, dissatisfying. So the father then yells at him to get out of his house, but he inadvertently calls him Mr. Garrett. This prompts David to call Lucas's prior high school, the one he just transferred from, to go on a little mini hunt for a Mr. Garrett. Him and Mr. Garrett meet at a local diner to discuss everything about Lucas, and we find out that Mr. Garrett was, I believe, Lucas's history teacher, and Lucas wrote like some crazy hot mess of a paper about you know, the Aryan perfection and how it was necessary, but that Hitler's methods were wrong in the way he did it and everything, like some really twisted crap. Okay, so just like the essay that was submitted to Mr. Butler, he gave him a B+, just like Mr. Butler gave him a B+. And of course, that wasn't music to Lucas's ears, so he did some crazy, like, fucked up shit, okay? He hunted down an old high school friend of Mr. Garrett's, who they used to do, like, drugs together. And he hunted this friend down and paid him to give Mr. Garrett a visit. And unbeknownst to Mr. Garrett, he just thought that his friend needed like a place to stay for a couple of days, like just a place to crash. So he allowed him to come into his home, but they got into drugs again, or at least he got into drugs again with his old friend. And on top of that, Lucas filmed the entire thing and threatened him with that tape. Said, listen, if you don't give me this A, I'm going to show the school board that, you know, this tape. So he gave him the A, and he couldn't get off of the drugs. He actually got back into drugs. And he said that he was 8 years sober when he met Lucas. Like, that's insane. David then grows the biggest pair of balls I've ever seen and gives Lucas a final midterm grade of an F. Ooh, you about to get it now. Lucas ups up the ante by enlisting fellow classmate Becca to seduce their teacher, hoping to catch it on tape. When David rejects Becca's advances and ultimately doesn't give Lucas the proof needed to get him fired, crazy-ass Lucas forces Becca to write a love letter to David, using phrases like clandestine love. Like, come on. He then proceeds to push Becca off of the roof to her death. Mr. Butler is then called into the principal's office for further questioning and then is subsequently let go by the principal. Oh my God, he tried to tell you what was going on. He then visits Lucas's home while he's away at school. During this time, we see Lucas's father visit his son's room for what looks like the very first time. And he actually does acknowledge that he knows who and what his son is, but he's a son, so like he's fearing for his life, basically. David finds the tape he's looking for and presents it to the principal and the officer that we see a couple of scenes back. Now it's Lucas's turn to be called into the principal's office. They show him the tape and he, like an idiot, forgot to edit himself out of the first frame. Like, you see Lucas setting up the camera. I'm assuming he didn't edit himself out of it because there was no proof on the camera, so it's not like he edited the tape and put it together or anything. So he didn't know, like, they was gonna walk up in his house to find the tape. And then the officer explains to Lucas that Mr. Butler has a restraining order against him, so he can't go, I believe it's like, what, 50 feet or closer near to Mr. Butler or his family. He is rightfully expelled. So as Lucas walks to his car, this like frustrates me so much. As Lucas walks his car, David chases after him and debunks the fact about the restraining order. Basically tells him it was a lie, because if Lucas were to ever come near David or his family, he will, quote unquote, fucking kill him. Why, dude? Why would you say that there is no restraining order against you? Like, it's over. Like, he was caught. He's expelled. He has to move on. And saying that there's a restraining order against you, having a police officer tell him that there's a restraining order against you, literally like protects you, but you say it's a lie for what? To show him how big your balls are? They're not big at all. They were before, but now you just messed shit up. Like, it's over. He's going to come near you now, obviously. You are literally making yourself completely vulnerable. Like, hey, I'm naked, take a picture of me, I don't care what happens to it. Like, are you trying to draw the moth to the flame? Protect your flame. Lucas then goes home and witnesses his father committing suicide by taking a bunch of pills and washing them down with some whiskey. And while his father is dying, he is watching some home videos of Lucas when he was younger, which is one of the clips we do see in the opening credits. So yeah, we recognize the clip, but when you're watching in the beginning, like, it doesn't, I don't know, like, it doesn't really have anything to, I don't know, like, I just don't think it was necessary to put in the opening credits, but whatever, it's done. As a child, Lucas would always wear different emotions, you know, trying different emotions on for the camera, but he could never access sadness. And I learned this from my best friend. Like, I had no idea that psychopaths can't be sad because they're doing so much like fucked up stuff. So they can't be sad. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to do all this stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. Before his father dies, Mr. Ward, which I don't even think I've explained to you that was his name, but Mr. Ward lets Lucas know that the emotion sadness was always the hardest for Lucas to try on, proving Lucas's psychological issues. David and his wife Rachel reconcile after the whole like teacher-student romantical affair rumors are debunked. So he goes to take a shower, and then his wife goes to make a baby bottle to feed the baby. And while she is coming back with the bottle, she sees Lucas right next to her baby, like just touching her baby. Not like in a weird way, just like, you know, grazing his finger against his arm, the baby's arm or something. Like, if you went to go fix your baby a bottle and you come back to just a complete stranger grazing your baby, I can't even imagine like what must be going on through your head, how fast your heart's racing. What are you going to do next, girl? Like, what? Like, Rachel already knows she's about to die. So David steps out of the shower, goes to find his family, but instead finds his baby missing and finds his wife dead, having been strangled by Lucas. Like, really? You're gonna choke his wife to death? Like, really? Did they really have to kill the wife? Like, I feel like that was a step way too far. Like, because after, you know, the events happen, you know, the events that I'm about to tell you, he's not going to have a wife. Like, I feel like that's just really, really terrible. I have no idea what goes on in the mind of a psychopath, so maybe that wasn't too much. I just feel like he should have at least held them both for ransom. Like, but I guess it would have been too difficult to carry a baby and then have control over a full-grown adult. I'm just saying. So Lucas leaves an MO of a chess piece next to his now dead wife, basically saying like, so then Mr. Butler rushes over to the school because apparently he knows that's where Lucas is. Lucas is seen holding a pen over the baby, threatening to stab him if Mr. Butler doesn't just sit down and shut the fuck up. Lucas then goes on to teach the class a lesson, and David throws himself at the demented psychopath, ensuing a metaphorical struggle between Iago and Othello. You see how it all ties together? It's so awesome. So in the end, David, who almost kills Lucas in the way that he killed his wife, triumphs over the antagonist. Woo! The police arrives right on time, like right before David is about to choke the living shit out of Lucas, before like he loses consciousness. So that must have meant that, you know, David called the police on his way, rushing over to the school. Mr. Butler takes the baby out of his car seat and then leaves the school. I'm sorry, how are you going to drive your baby safely without a car seat? And if you're not driving, where are you going? These are questions. And that's the end of the movie. I did also have like additional questions, you know, regarding like whatever happened to David's professorship and also the status of the science teacher that was fired. But I'm pretty sure once the investigation for Lucas like was completed, that those probably all tied in together. Obviously we don't see that in the movie, but I'm giving them like the benefit of the doubt with that one. I just really need to commend Dylan Sprouse on his amazing acting performance. He still has a long way to go if he, you know, still wants to take acting seriously, but honestly, like 2 big thumbs up for that movie. Like, I just feel like that's what a thriller is supposed to be like. Like, the whole entire time, they had me on the edge of my seat. My heart was beating really fast. They did a really good job of making one thing seem like something and then another thing seem like something. Like, they did a good job of not being predictable, is what I should say. There were some parts that were like a little bit predictable, but there were some scenes where you're like, okay, I know this is going to happen. And it's like, oh, shit, it didn't happen. Like, they did a really good job with that. misleading you basically in a good way. All right, so I have nothing further to say except that I really enjoy this movie and I would highly recommend it. So thank you guys for watching my very first movie review. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. I'd highly appreciate it. Don't forget to click subscribe, and I'll see you soon for my next video. Bye!